All right, we're back here for our final match of week 4. Yet again, we have two new faces for us, at least in the league. Here in the feature match, both in their first league. We got Parker D, Android, against Stephen H. Should be a pretty even match as far as records go. Parker's at 12-7, Stephen's at 11-8, so pretty evenly matched here. We saw Parker send back you know, very borderline hand. Some people may have decided to keep it. What's Steven working with here?
A few lands, some creatures, a 3-drop and 4-drop, a Mutant Surveyor and Lurking Deadeye, and a Cosmic Hunger as a removal spell.
Okay, so looks like aside from not having a 2-drop, looks like he will be able to be playing creatures. A little bit of a slow one here for Parker. He's got the Market Backwalker here on 2. Looks like Steven's just gonna he's gonna allow the 2-for-1 basically. So he says, I know this can grow. I'm just gonna do this now. I'm giving up a card, I know, but it represents more cards later.
He,
And
he could have got an extra speed by playing that first, but
yes, of course, yeah. So he did miss out on the speed there. A decent draw here in the Engine Rat, just something to get in the way until he can get to some of his high drops, because he does have a Migrating Ketrodon, and he also has a Demonic Junker in hand, which is that rare vehicle that can destroy a creature. Also, he has Back on Track and 2 lands. So, he's got a nice high end here in his hand, but does need to get through this phase of the game. I think I was gonna say, I think he just trade for the Mutant Surveyor. Yeah, so of note, Steven could have been at 3 speed. Remains to be seen if he will have any payoffs here. So Parker has run a white card here. So he has 3 colors of mana, but not 4. So the Gallant Strike, which does have cycling, might end up being cycled here. There's a good chance he might cycle the Ketrodon and just put it into play next turn with a Back on Track, since he's not guaranteed to have a play for next turn or a 6th land in time.
Steven drew a desert. I'm not sure if it's one of the cycling deserts or one of the effect when it's in play, but
All
I
right.
think it's the cycling one.
Which one
Yeah.
is it? Is it like Desert of the Blank? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all
Cycling.
the cycling ones, yeah.
And a Triome in hand. I don't know if he needs the red or blue, or if he's just going to cycle that.
What's that, Ketria Triome, I guess?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting that he didn't. I mean, it's not like a super efficient thing to do, but I think cycling the Ketrodon and just putting it into play for 5 mana is a very, very viable option here. It's not like he's getting beat down. That's a good one to get rid of. The Lurking Deadeye. It's one of those flash creatures that can. It destroys a creature that was dealt damage. So can sneak in after a combat to kill something big that you attacked into.
2 lands.
I mean, lands are not bad when you have this Brushwag that's just going to get pumped here. So you could spend 6 mana with the rat to deal 2 damage to your opponent, or you can spend 4 mana to deal 3 damage. I think that's a better deal. So we are seeing what I was saying earlier, which is that it's a very, very slow hand for Parker. Like I mentioned, he might have wanted to cycle this Ketrodon and then back on track it, just to stem some of the damage. But it's here now, and if it dies, it can come back. So that's the advantage of not doing that other play. What's Steven looking at for this turn?
The draw there was just a small creature. The draw there was a 2/4 Morse code Gloriac.
So 3 mana, 2/4. Okay.
Just with a surveyor in the graveyard.
So based on some of the creatures he's playing, I'm guessing he's working on a 2-color deck, because normally if you had a 3-color, you're probably not playing stuff like Brushwag or a 2/4 vanilla. But if he has a Fang Druid Summoner, does it have Vigilance? I can't remember if it has Vigilance or not. Yeah, it has Vigilance. It's not a
Uh,
not a vanilla creature. Almost though. All right. So the Ifnir Deadlands of note, he can sacrifice it or sacrifice a desert, pay 4, tap it, sack a desert, 2 -1 counters on a creature. So very, very nice land to have. Um, yeah, Parker's got a poison dart frog, but that's liable to just die to the if near deadland. So I don't think he wants to necessarily do that. He's thinking about attacking here into the engine. I guess he has back on track, but yeah. So Stevens has to figure something's up here if he's offering his Ketrodon for an engine rat. Yep. Steven just says I can attack you back for a good amount, so I don't need to block. Yeah, Demonic Junker a lot better when you're casting it for 5 or something of that nature, but still okay on 7. It's not making too many waves at 7 mana, but blow up something and then eventually attack with a 4/3 later. So looks like Steven is
Well, that
doing
draw of a
probably some
land
minimal
is
amount of splashing here. What's his last card in hand?
it's a swamp, so
Okay.
he has all lands right now.
Yeah, not great spot to be in here. Parker does have the back on track and the poison dart frog here. Poison dart frog though, likely to potentially get negative counters on it. Yeah. So again, this is like kind of what the green decks tend to do. Like they just who has the bigger creature is kind of like what the game comes down to. Like who played the last biggest creature, right? Once all the removals and dust settles, you know, who has the biggest thing? And right now it's Parker that has the biggest thing. So he is playing that poison dart frog into the land that can kill it. Uh, and unless Steven
And
draws
that's
something
another
better,
land.
he'll probably take that deal.
Mm. The draw was in Evolving Wilds, so
Yeah,
flooding out.
yeah, that would be his ninth land versus like 7 from Parker. So big difference there. And he even cycled away a land. Did Steven?
He cycled through 2 lands. He had a desert
Oh
and the
yeah, and the
triumph.
Triumph. So this is basically like his 11th land. Interesting that he went for the pilot rather than the Death Touch Reach creature.
Well, the pilot can include the Junker, so I guess
Yeah,
it does represent more damage in that sense.
yeah, and with just a 2/4 here, he needs to minimize the amount of damage he's taking. Another back on track. Okay. I think he's just gonna bring back his engine rat. Yeah, he just says no need to be fancy here. I'm just gonna bring back engine rat. I have mana to spare. I could pay 6 mana. Not your ideal use of the card, but still a very valid use of the card nonetheless. He said, I don't need to get fancy. I just need to put more things into play. Guessing he's going to attack all here. He's not really afraid of 2 damage from a Goriak over there. Yeah. So he offers up his Poison Dart Frog to trade and put his opponent at 5 if Steven takes that offer. Either way, it's all bad for Steven. Way too many lands here, and the 2 back on tracks just gave Parker the edge. An edge that, on top of what he already had from drawing more spells throughout the course of the game. Yeah. So he's going to chump block here to preserve his life total. Maybe he has some kind of a board wipe here that can reel him back in.
It's a creature, but a creature, the stubborn burrow fiend,
Okay, yeah, that's not going to be
but
of too
it's
much
not going to
use.
do enough.
Yeah, I mean, cool card, but not right now. Not absolutely not even close to what he needs. It's not quite lethal here, but it's close. He can get him to 2 here. Yeah, all attack. he has to block the Ketrodon, or else he does die to the engine rat activation. And unless there's a board wipe, it looks like we are going to be going to a game 2 here.
A risky shortcut is not going to do it.
No. Yeah,
Yeah,
risky
shortcut to
shortcut.
game two.
It is. It would be a very shortcut to game 2 because the engine rat will deal the last two before Parker even needs to untap. So yeah, pretty impressive showing there. I mean, we did see Steven just get absolutely flooded. So looking at Parker's deck, he is playing 4 colors here. He has 3 white cards to go with his Sultai, otherwise Sultai deck.
And Steven is splashing red for a Far Fortune end boss,
Okay, makes
but
sense.
otherwise it's just green black.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, based on the cards he was playing, it didn't seem like he was splashing too much. So interesting that Parker has 3 white cards but no lands that tap for white mana. it's, he does have a few cards that can tap for any color mana, but okay. I mean, two of them have cycling, so it's not so bad. Didn't look like he made any changes. If he did, it was maybe 1 card, but didn't catch it. Is Steven looking to sideboard here?
He's
From what we can
replacing
tell.
a couple. It looks like he's replacing a couple of combat tricks with things that I think he's bringing in something that gives death touch instead of small power toughness boost.
Yeah,
So changing the combat tricks a little bit.
yeah, that's sensible. I'm assuming since he's playing green, Steven does have some big creatures. We just didn't see any of them that game. Um, but I assume he does
He
have
has
larger bodies.
he has 3 Hazard of the Dunes
Yeah,
and 1 Agonosaurus Rex.
yeah, those
Although
fit that description.
although although it does look like there's a lot of cheap creatures. He has a lot of cheap stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it did look like he was pretty good at getting on board early, but then just, I mean, we didn't get to see, what kind of late game he has just because he drew only lands towards the end. But he is playing a lot of cheap creatures. Like, we did see a lot of small things hit the board and at least give him something to do in the early game, but then just got outmatched by the large creatures and the interaction. What kind of hand is Steven looking at now?
It's a risky hand with 2 lands but no green, a Grimp and a risky shortcut.
That would be risky, as the card implies. Yeah, it's
And then
like,
there's also a Brush Red, Run Over, and Hazard of the Dunes.
yeah, these are like the kind of keeps where like when I get it, like in my mind, I'm like never keep, and then I see other people that are extremely good players just keep it, and it's always very interesting, in those situations to see, keep versus mull, especially when the hand's a little risky. So a 2-lander here for Parker. It looks like it's gonna again another slow late game hand, but that didn't stop Parker last
And
time. So he's missed his land
draws
here.
up a risky shortcut, and another green creature
Uh,
isn't what he was looking for.
yeah, that's not going to be great here. Um, so Parker has a Market Bat Walker again. He does have 2 in his deck. We saw it last game. He has a Back on Track. He has a Gonosaur Rex, the 5 mana 8/8, and he's drawn a Demonic Junker, and he has land. So he's just going to be able to play a 2/2 Walker. He's going to be able to play an 8/8 next turn. And sounds like if Steven doesn't get his lands, the game is going to end fairly quickly from then.
Was it draws of District Mascot, Ronus the Indomitable, and then
that
a Monsters Cruiser. Aren't
yeah,
the land any land really at this point would let him.
yeah, that's why I feel
Um,
hands like that
but
are kind of mulligans, right? Like where if you don't draw land, you just don't get to play at all. Like at least if you have like a cycling card or a 2-drop, it's like you can talk yourself into keeping. You say, well, at least I could play something. I could cycle. But if you have no plays other than a Grim Bauble, can't really. It's not like a defensible keep, right? It's interesting. He could play as demonic junker here, and no, he's just gonna bring in the brood wagon with the back on track and try and get this game over. He could have junkered away both of the market backwalkers, his and his opponents, but yeah, probably a little too
That's
fancy.
another. And that draw was a green. Was another green creature, the humble
Yeah,
naturalist,
I mean, look,
and the stubborn pearl.
look. Even though the game sometimes does this to us, we still love the game and keep coming back to play it. So that says something about the game. But unfortunately, we do get situations like this where the games are not. That game was not competitive due to both mana and color issues there. So, bit of a quick one here for the second game. Congratulations to Parker on the win, and thanks for watching. See you next week.